Okay, we're learning the Sikha from Tafshin Nun, the Hadran al Rambam, on page 126. We're in the middle of Siv Zayin, and we're holding where it says Vachidush Shebezeh. Okay, so we skipped a week, so we have to make a chazara here.
Okay.
So the Rebbe explained in the first halach in the Rambam speaks about the Eibishter with two different titles. One title is Matzoi Rishon, and the other title is Amita Simotzai. Doesn't mean the same thing. Matzoi Rishon is talking about the Eibishter as an existence which relates to our existence. Because if you refer to something as Rishon, in relation to another level of existence, Rishon means after Rishon comes Sheni, Shlishi. So this is speaking about the level of the Eibishter that creates source of our existence, doesn't negate. Then there Amita Simotzi. What does Amita Simotzi mean? Cholan and Tzam. B'Shemayim V'Aretz Lo Nimtzu. They don't exist. Elam Amita Simotzi. Here Rambam is saying a different point. That Amita Simotzi is the real existence of the Eibishter, where there our existence doesn't begin. B'Chlal. Lo Nimtzu. We don't exist. Elam Amita Simotzi. The only thing that exists is Amita Simotzi. Those are the two levels that Rambam is speaking about. Okay, now the thing here is, we'll continue inside now, the second column, page 126. The Rambam starts, this is the diak that the Rebbe in almost every Hadran, al Rambam repeats again, with the lashon of Yisayda Yisayda Zamuda Chachmais, Leida, Yidiyah. You have to know the Eibishter. It's not enough to believe. Okay, so here we're talking about different levels, and regarding both of these levels, the Rambam uses that lashon of Leida. So let's continue inside. The Chiddush here is Leida Amitisi Motzai, which means Shegama Daged Amitisi Motzai, including the higher level, which is the true existence of the Eibishter, Ba Ba'ofen Shel Yidiyah. This as well, one has to not only believe but know, which means She'ena Mevatelas Gidriyan Nimtzayim. If you know, that means that your existence is not nullified. What you can't understand, there you believe. So that means you don't exist. But if you are understanding, so then it's not negating your existence. Not only it doesn't negate your existence, it penetrates creation itself. So here's a big chiddush, because if we're talking about a level of Hashem, which is higher than our gather of existence, so what does it mean that you could know the Eibishter on such a level that it penetrates our existence? This is a level which is mevatel our existence. Amitis imotzai, and our limited existence is two different kinds of. It's a stira. So what does it mean that it penetrates our existence? So the answer is, kol zman shahayideya hu mitzias la'atzmai. If the one that knows is an entity for himself, yechayil aliyas hayidiyah rak bedarge sheshayeches legidrei mitziusay. So then it's only possible to have knowledge based on who you are. A level that's above your existence, the shayach yidiyah. Over there, you cannot know. It's only possible to have emunah, to believe. Because on this level, the entire existence of the person becomes totally bottled. But when the one that knows, his knowledge is coming from a place of absolute bittul, he's not an existence for himself. He senses, who am I? What's my whole existence? There's the limited aspect of who I am, but that's not really who I am. My whole existence is part of Amitisi Motzei. Then it's possible to have a level of knowledge in the Eibishter's existence which is beyond what defines you. It's not going to nullify you. It comes down and it penetrates your existence. So there's no contradiction here. What do I consist of? I consist of Amitisi Motzei of the Eibishter. Understand this Indian? Is that what I'm saying here?
You're not understanding it.
No, that's the whole part. You are understanding.
How can you understand something like that?
You understand? No,
you have an insight. No, but I'm understand it.
Yeah, the idea is in the Amitis Motzei. It's a Pella that I was saying here. This concept that Rebbe speaks about in many places, but not usually in relation to Yediyah. The Rebbe speaks about this inyan in relation to Avedis Hashem. That all the limitations that it says in Avedis Hashem is as long as your approach is based on who I am, based on my koiches, so then I have limitations. But if you come to it with from the standpoint of bittul, so then you become unlimited. That's usually the concept that it says in Avedis Hashem. So different limitations that it says. For example, I'll give you one example. It says this the famous word about Kedoshim Tiyu. Yochel Kamaini. So the Medrash says, well, you could reach the level of Kedusha of the Eibishter. No, it's impossible. My level of holiness is much greater than what you could reach. But then comes Chassidus and says, well, it depends. You could also translate Yochel Kamaini. Yochel Kamaini means Benichas. Yes, you can be like me. What does that mean? If you are you and the Eibishter is him, so then your Kedusha is one level and the Eibishter's Kedusha is Bein Areich. But if you're not coming to it from a level of existence, you're coming to it realizing who are you really? What's your whole existence in the first place? You're a neshama, even your guf, everything about you is really all an expression of the Eibishter. So even if in the tzir, if in the external makeup of who you are, so you consist of different limited aspects, but that's not who you really are. You are totally bottled to the source of the Eibishter that creates you. So then you could be Kaddish, you could come to the holiness of the Eibishter. There's other examples also that Rebbe says this. So here the Rebbe is applying the same point to Yediyah, to the level of knowledge that a person could have. What means knowledge? You see, it depends how you translate the concept of knowledge. So you're going to translate the concept of knowledge the way we typically do, that I could know it and I could understand something which is limited, meaning if you give me any number that's a limited number, I could grasp what it means limited. If you're going to tell me that there's a table, it's 10 feet long, it's 20 feet long, it's 1,000 feet long, okay, I could grasp that, I could imagine that. But you're going to tell me that there's a table or there's any existence which is bleak vol, I can't imagine that. What does that mean, unlimited? In the person's seichel, the concept of unlimited is not something that is to be grasped. But that's not the concept of Yediyah that the Rebbe is talking about here. The concept of Yediyah that the Rebbe is talking about is when something is upgelegt, when something is 100% clear in your mind. What's the difference between a munah and Yediyah? Munah means you believe, and your belief, they're going to have a might of here now. So I guess we'll have to stop the share. Oh, downstairs. Well, so you have to tell the people. No, we can't move. We're middle of learning. Hella says he'll daven downstairs.
No, he has to daven. You have to daven.
Why did we set the tables back?
No, it's good. We're good. We're continuing.
Okay, we'll continue.
For 5 minutes, they could daven might have downstairs, maybe. No? Okay, let's continue.
We can't do this.
So what's the point that the Rebbe is saying? That the concept of Yediyah means that you have something that you believe in, but you don't relate to it. It doesn't resonate. You don't get it, right? Yediyah doesn't only mean something that I can imagine its size and shape. Yediyah means something that I connect to, something that resonates in my system. That's the real idea of Yediyah. It is possible for a Yid that's totally bottled. He doesn't exist as a limited person. He exists, and his whole life, he recognizes that his whole existence is just an embodiment of the Ratzon of Hashem. So then what happens? The true existence of Hashem, even if we can't grasp and imagine, but the true existence of Hashem becomes upgelegt. That's the Yiddish word. You know what upgelegt means?
Resonate.
It resonates. Yeah, you become connected to it. You feel it, and you relate to it. It becomes relatable. What's this relatable? The Eibishter's unlimited is relatable? Yeah, because I'm bottled, so I'm not me. If I'm not me, so he could be in me 100%. It's relatable. That's the idea that I was talking about over here. So, but for that, there's a condition. Bittul. Tachlis a bittul. It's not enough to be bottled. Tachlis a bittul. Absolute bittul. So then you're open to the amitis, to the true existence of Hashem. And how? Not just with the munah. That a Yid always has. Every Yid has simple faith. But in Yediyah, that this is something that is relatable in your whole existence, in your bones. Okay, so that's the Chiddush here with the Leida in relation to Amitis Motzei. So v'zeh mashakasav Rambam. So this explains when the Rambam says Sheleida chulu, that the Yediyah, the knowledge that a person has, Kol hanimtzayim, everything that exists, loy nimtzu ela ma'amitis imotzei. Their entire existence is only from the true existence of Hashem. Shekasher hanimtzayim heim betachlis habitol. When everyone that exists with absolute bittul, which means shenirgish behem she'einam mitzias latzmam. They don't sense themselves in existence. It's possible to have a grasp, a real connection to the true existence of Hashem. The true existence of Hashem is not going to nullify it. There's no contradiction here. In your seichel, the person will get and understand the true existence of Hashem. Although on its own, seichel is not open to hearing and getting such kind of ideas. But if the person's existence is the true existence of Hashem, that's how he lives, that's how he views himself, that's his condition of functioning. So then the idea of a person also connects to this level of truth of Hashem. Rabbi gives an example for this in Order 33. You davened already.
They are.
Good, very good. So we can continue learning. Let's
Do we know that?
yeah, Order 33. Dugmul davar. So an example for what we're talking about over here, bittul aseichel haratzon. That the person's seichel becomes bottle when he has a desire. A person has a desire for something, and his seichel is not thinking honestly anymore. Sharatzon mates aseichel ba'ifin. The person's will tilt his thinking, that he starts seeing things in a certain way. And you may convince yourself that you're thinking objectively, but it's really according to what your ratzon is. That's what's happening. He thinks that, this is my true opinion. He thinks that it's coming from the seichel itself. But in truth, it's not coming from the seichel itself. Because the seichel is not a keli for that. Usually, it's either your seichel that's calculating and thinking, or it's your ratzon that's controlling you. If it's a ratzon that's controlling you, so then your seichel is really shut down. A lot of times we find ourselves justifying certain things intellectually, so to speak, with seichel, but that's really not what's going on. It's really an experience of ratzon. You have a desire for something, you have an interest in something, a netiyah to something, and then you find all kinds of excuses and explanations of why your ratzon is right. That means that really what the ratzon did is it shut down your seichel. The honesty of your seichel is not functioning. Then there's the other approach where a person is too seicheldik. Person's own everything's seicheldik, and he doesn't allow his inner will to come out. Everything is just cold seichel. Everything is calculated. To live only completely and just purely calculated is also not a life. It's too cult. But then the person's ratzon. What's my will? That's shut down. What the Rebbe is saying over here is that it's possible for a yid to be mevatel himself to the Eibishter, that he could start introducing into his existence a mitas himotzai, and it's going to blend together. It's not going to be a contradiction. The true existence of the Eibishter will penetrate your existence and make over the person's existence to be according to a mitas himotzai of the Eibishter. This is what we're talking about over here, is Mashiach. I mean, for such a thing to happen in its ultimate form is when Mashiach comes. That's what it is. Where the whole world will not be nullified, but the whole world will be penetrated with Hamitis Himotzei of the Eibishter.
But what would be in the Hara? Ratzon and Seichel.
Yeah.
When would Ratzon, Seichel still working and you're still following your Ratzon?
No, it usually doesn't work that way.
It's either or?
It doesn't have to be either or,
There's no
but
way to work together?
no, lav dafka. But very often what happens is that it's either or. The ratzon shuts down a person's seichel. If a person has a powerful ratzon for something, ein lecha davar ha'omed b'fnei
It shuts
ratzon.
it down, or it's mata.
Mata means shuts down because seichel is objective and honest. Yeah, okay. So the ratzon of the person is the biggest sheichat. Avas atzmai. That's the biggest sheichat. So the person's seichel is not functioning honestly anymore. So the Rebbe is bringing the dugma for the fact that usually a person's seichel is not a keli for the ratzon. It could become bottled to the ratzon. It's not a keli. Keli means it takes it into its existence. It doesn't take it into its existence. Ratzon controls seichel. The power of ratzon is a controlling power. It's not a power that usually it works together with other entities well. It just controls. A person has a ratzon, it'll control all kinds of things in his life, everything, all his movements and all of his. It's a very deep controlling power. Yeah. Okay, let's see a little bit more here now how the Rebbe explains.
But in terms of over here, when Ratzon is acting as a hindrance towards
Leida. Yeah, it could be.
It's acting as a hindrance to it.
Yeah.
So it's time to step back from Ratzon.
Yeah, basically. Well, it depends which Ratzon. The Ratzon of the Nefesh Bahamas
I have a
definitely.
Ratzon, I won't learn Chassidus.
Oh, that's a good Ratzon. Always fulfill that Ratzon.
Always.
Always.
Can't go
100%.
Can't go wrong.
Sifches. Now we come back to the Lashon of the Rambam. The pasuk really that the Rambam quotes. So now we come back to the Siyam of the Sefer of the Rambam. What does the Rambam write? Kimol Oretz Deyas Havaya. Next page. You see it? Kimol Oretz Deyas Havaya. Kamayim Lo Yom Achasem. So the question that Rebbe asked here is the language in the pasuk where there's the mashal and the nimshal are not in the same order. In the beginning of the pasuk, which is really the nimshal, it says Deya, and then it says first Oretz, that is Kimol Ha'oretz, and then it says Deyas Havaya. First, it talks about the entity, and then it talks about what will fill this entity. When it comes to the Nimshal, it doesn't talk about the entity, which is the Yam, and then the water that fills it. It starts the other way around. It starts with the water that will fill the Yam. Why not in the second half of the Pasuk, the same order as the first half of the Pasuk? Okay, the battery might go out. We'll see how long it lasts. Okay, let's continue. So the Rebbe explains as follows. What would be the difference between these two orders? Hachilik ben kayam hamuchus b'mayim lekamayim layam achasimhu. What's the difference whether you say the expression of this that the Rebbe suggested it should say yam, start off with the yam, and then you say that yam is covered with water, or if you say no, start off with the water, kamayim layam achasim, the water that covers the ocean. It seems to be so technical and like not no big difference. But it's a huge difference how you begin. Why? When you start with the area of the ocean, which has a floor and the walls of the ocean, you're talking about the existence of the ocean. And then you say, this ocean is filled with water. What does that mean? So the first thing you're highlighting is that there's an existence of a certain space, the space of the ocean. So once you begin with that approach, that there's an existence of the space of the ocean, so then what happens when you fill the space of the ocean with water? What is the water there doing? It's nullifying that space. If you start off saying like this, just like you have dry land, which is a place that's dry, human beings, animals, trees, everything that grows on dry land could function there. Then you say, well, the ocean in essence is also an area of dry land. It's just like a big valley. It's very deep. Elamai, what does the Eibush do? He fills it up like a big swimming pool. What happens when the Eibush fills up the ocean with the water? You're taking an existence that really should have and could have functioned like dry land, and you nullified that. You changed it. You filled it with water like a swimming pool, and now it can't function anymore as dry land. So you always are having this view of the existence of the ocean of being something that it's not. Could have been like dry land, but the Eibush fills it with the water. Oh, so it's not like what it could have been. So that approach stresses the concept of bittul. There's a space of yam, and we're filling it with water to nullify that space. So if that's the case, the word mala is not the right expression. Mala means that I am filling in the sense of I'm filling it up, not nullifying. Filling it up means I'm filling it up with a deeper entity of existence. I'm not nullifying it. According to this, what we're highlighting is the mechasim, that I'm covering its true entity that it is. However, the order that it says now in the pasuk, where it starts off with water, and it says the water covers the area of the ocean, we're discussing the water. So what we're focusing on is that the water is covering this area of the yam, which means bittul mitzias hayam shekol inyonein el hamayim. So what we're saying is that what is this entire place? There is no such a thing as yam. What this place is a place of water. That's what it is. And therefore that includes even a level of water that doesn't exist on dry land. Even if usually when you take water and you pour it on dry land, so what do you see happening? If you have an area that gets flooded, what does a flood mean? It gets muddy, or a flood means that everything that's supposed to exist and function on dry land is now flooded and it doesn't exist anymore. But that's not what's happening here. Rather, what's happening is over here, the point is that we're not flooding, rather we're filling it up. Because over here, the whole point is, what is the ocean? The ocean is the water. Ocean is not a place of dry land, and now you're flooding it with water and covering it. So then you're breaking, you're flooding, you're destroying. It's like a mabel. It's not a mabel. That is what this space consists of. This space consists of water. So that's the union of the Kamayim Yamachasin that the pasuk is emphasizing here.
And the Mayim is the idea.
Again?
The Mayim is the idea.
The Mayim is the idea, correct. That's the mashal for the idea of the Eibishter. One more word, let's see what the Rebbe says over here. Ba'ayim Yoser, on a deeper level, we could say as follows. It's very, very deep here. It's a day deep in Yonim, and the Rebbe takes every detail. In this Leil, we explained before that Shayam, when you say ocean, it doesn't mean the space of the ocean. It means the gathering of the water itself that's in that ocean. And if that's the case, not comes out that achiluk shebemayim liyam. What is really the difference between saying water or saying ocean? Because ocean is also water. It doesn't. When you say ocean, it doesn't just mean the floor, the walls. It means the water. So the only difference is shebiyam mudgesh hatzir shenasa b'hamayim. When you say ocean, you're not referring to the plain water in itself that flows, like even for example in a river where the water is flowing from one location to another, like it naturally flows. But rather you're referring to the fact that it's contained. It's contained in the place of the ocean. Mikveh hamayim. The ocean is the place where the water has been contained, like in a mikveh, like in a swimming pool. Elamai, it's a massive swimming pool. But it's a contained water. Mitzad gidrei hamakim shebayim tzal hamayim, because you have the defining parameters of the water. Karkis v'kaislei hayam, whether the floor or the walls of the ocean. So now, if that's what you're focusing on, v'dugmasei b'dei savaya, since this is all a mashal, so the mashal of the knowledge of Hashem, what would this be referring to? Me'adas, that's yidiyah sheba b'tzir d'levushi hasaga. That's the knowledge of Hashem that has a floor, it has walls, it has a definition, it has a certain size and shape of how you're sizing up Hashem. Kaviyachol. Mayim, what does the word mayim mean? Koyal mitzias hamayim, kafi shem l'mayla mitziyah. It refers to the existence of water. What's the nature of water? Water doesn't stay at one place. You put water here, it flows to another place. And in essence, water never stops flowing. Unless you have an obstacle that's not allowing the water to flow, or for whatever reason the water gets absorbed in the ground or it evaporates, so it will eventually stop flowing. But if you just leave water to its nature, water continues flowing. Water has no tzir. And therefore what this means is, in the mashal, in the nimshal, to know Hashem, yidiyah, a knowledge of Hashem, that your knowledge of Hashem is beyond any makeup, any design. So now, based on this, the meaning of kamayim, layam, machasem means when a person understands, and we understand with our seichel, and our seichel imagines things with a certain tzir with it, is how the yam, the level of your seichel that usually thinks logically, is now overwhelmed, and now it's been changed by taking in the true existence of Hashem, which is like water that has no definition, like water that just flows. The gam dargezu pshita shelamayla mitzia enim mevatelas. It's not nullifying the person. This is something that is penetrating the person, where the person becomes completely full with the Eibishter on this level. So that's the Gevaldig Inyan of Lasad Lavai.
He's the sea.
Again?
He's the ocean, and the water is
correct. The person's Seichel is naturally like an ocean. Halavai. What the Rebbe is saying is, we're talking about even a person that's a great going, great genius, and he has such a level of knowledge that you can compare it to the water of the ocean. Billions and billions of gallons of water. The person has so much knowledge in his head, and he has a tremendous going. Nevertheless, he's only human. So seichel has a gvul, and with the greatest levels of understanding, even of godly existence, is all limited. But kamayim la yamachas. Then there's the mayim. Mayim is water that flows and has no tzir. It's noisel, and that is noisel mazel. It comes into the person where it changes his whole existence. That's Moshiach. That's the real concept of Mashiach. Yeah. Okay, we'll continue with Shem next week. Because this is the level of Deya. Mola ha'aretz Deya Savaya.
Say Deya Savaya Mola.
It should say Deya Savaya Mola ha'aretz. No, the Rebbe asked the question regarding the second half of the pasuk. So he's saying now the question is reversed.
It's a different order.
Yeah, it is. The Rebbe is not explaining now the order of the first half of the pasuk. We understand now the second half of the pasuk. Kamayim la yamachasim. Yeah, but no, maybe there's a hezbollah here. We'll see later in the sikha. Okay.
Say something about the Talmud. Put on Gimel Talmud.